Let's go over a couple things that will make you a really great language teacher. And this applies to English language teachers, any foreign language teacher, whatever, whether that's teaching English or French or Arabic, whatever you want. But this will work for the majority of language teachers. Doesn't matter. The number one tip that I will give you, and it seems basic, it's super simple, but it's learning to keep your mouth shut, okay? This is something that I think that a lot of teachers really struggle with. This silence kind of makes teachers feel uncomfortable. And so what I always tell people is, learn how to keep your mouth shut. Ideally, you want your student to do the majority of the talking, okay? If they're not, if you're dominating the conversation, that's probably not a good sign. The exception to this would be, of course, if your student has a really low level of the language, then of course you might do most of the talking. But in an ideal world, you really want your students to be the ones doing the majority of the talking. Now, where this comes in to be a little bit challenging, sometimes you ask a student a question, or maybe you're talking about a certain grammar point and you're giving them a chance to formulate an answer, and you kind of like they're taking too long and you kind of want to help them along. Keep your mouth shut. I'm talking about this coming from the place of having been a language learner in the past, learning how to speak languages in a very natural setting, but also through teaching in my own classrooms. Sometimes it takes a little while for someone to formulate an answer. And I've had this experience myself where someone has finished my sentence for me as the language learner. It's a really frustrating experience because you would have gotten there. Eventually you would have gotten there, but the other person wasn't patient. So you as the teacher really need to do a good job of just relaxing, okay? Let them come up with the answer in their own time. Now, the second point is to be super adaptable, okay? This is something that's very important, especially if this student is doing a lot of talking, okay? If let's say that you have a lesson plan for the day and you start to have a conversation, the conversation kind of goes into a different direction, but they're doing a lot of talking, just let them talk, okay? That's great. Most of the time, especially if they're doing lessons with you online, most of the time what they really need is a lot of conversation and they need a lot of talk time, okay? So if they're talking in your lessons, that's perfect. That's exactly what you want. And the last point is for you to come up with lots and lots and lots of different kinds of lesson plans, okay? This is a major issue for a lot of teachers. They do the same kinds of lesson plans time and time and time again. The problem is this becomes really boring for your student, but it's also not turning on the parts of the brain that need to work in order to acquire the language. Throughout my process of learning several different languages, I had taken a couple lessons online, and this was a consistent issue with a lot of the teachers that I talked to. They did the same kinds of lessons over and over and over again, and at first you're like, okay, this is great, I am learning something, but it starts to become really boring for your students. They're not going to stay engaged very easily, but it's not interesting. It's just simply not interesting. So these are 3 simple tips. I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, please like, subscribe, share. That would really help me out. See you next time.